sometimes you're setting up characters. There are a few tricks here. So as I move this around, this is symmetrical. The other side's moving symmetrically. But sometimes you want to go in here, and if I select this one over here, what's happening is the right side of the character, the character's right. If I say right side, I always mean the character's right. If you go look, it has a symmetry constraint to the left side over here. And what you can do is you can go, because the constraints are on this side, if I go into child compensation, if I go and I move this piece, it moves exactly the same. Everything's below. But if I move it on the right side, it doesn't move the children. So that's a really handy tip, because what you find is when you line this thing up, sometimes you want it to everything to follow, right? And sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just want to change this piece and not move its children. So working on the right side and turning child compensation on and off as you work is a good way to keep a handle over that. Also too, if you ever want to delete symmetry on this thing, of course when you create the biped guide, one of the options is turning the symmetry off. But sometimes you get in deep and you realize, hey, I don't want all this symmetry stuff now, and I had it before. You can just go in these objects and get rid of the symmetry constraints. So you could see here I got this, right? I could go get all symmetry constraints in the scene by just going star.symmetry constraints. Look, I selected all of them just with my star there, and then I can just hit delete, and then I won't have any symmetry at all. Here, we'll do it. And so as I move this around, there's no symmetry anymore. These things are completely in their own space. So next thing we're going to look at is a little bit on the feet. We've looked at the fingers. Let's start looking at the spine type. So I'm going to get rid of this guide and then go get a new one. So character, we're still working on the biped guide, still sticking to the basics here. And let's say we want to have a different spine type. So I'm just going to create a couple rigs here. So we looked at the other biped guide where it had the quaternion spine. You can also, and the chest and the head are exactly the same. You can have them both they both use the same spine. So I can say, okay, I want a skeleton spine now. And you can do this on the quadruped or the biped. It's really that component that's working that way. So if I go into here and take this, so here you go. You can see I've got your standard FK spine that a lot of traditional CG animators like to be working with. Now, if we want to do something, another popular thing is the stretchy spine. So if we go in here, character rig from biped guide, we can go turn on the stretchy spine stretches to meet chest icon. Now, stretchy spine only works with the quaternion spine. You can see it's turned off when you have a skeleton. And just for kicks, I'll show you the control icons. I can change them to be cubes or something like that. That's actually better when you're doing like a dinosaur or something a little more hunched. It starts to make more sense. But you can see I can choose giant cubes. You can, of course, this is all open. You can go in there and switch around the icons in the generation scripts. So here you can see I got the stretchy spine here. And if I go and I move the character, the spine stretches to meet any animation. Also, this one too, you can see as well. If I look under the biped 1, I've also got this volume factor here, so I can go and change it so the character scales down as he stretches and distorts, so that there's some pinching there. I can turn off scaling. I can look at the local transform of these things. Here, let's just zero this out, and I'll show you. I can also zero this out, and I can say, hey, you know what? These actually get the parent of this guy. Ding, and select these two. If I go into their local transform and turn off scaling, then I can also have that volume factor, but without scaling down the length, the scale of the head and the arms. But what's nice about actually I'm going to turn volume rate to 1, 2, so actually 0. There we go. So it's acting normally. Now what's neat about the stretchy spine is you can do stuff like you can go and hit a very specific pose here, and then this thing doesn't care. This counter animates however you want it. They're just kind of tugging at each other. So this is more kind of loose cartoon style of animating.